Well, we're going live right now. I'm Chuck Bentley. I want to give it just a minute for people who want to log in. I'm going to be answering your questions tonight that we have about the economic uncertainty that we're facing right now. I have received a lot of questions in advance, so you can join now and log in your question. I've got a few people here that will be helping me to try to see your questions as we answer them. I'm coming to you from home tonight, so there may be a few interruptions or noises in the background, but I'm sequestered just like all of you. I'm just been at home trying to do the social distancing thing and answering lots of questions. So we'll give you a few minutes to arrive and maybe, how about another minute, and then we'll get started. I see some of you logging in. Glad that you're here. Great. More of you coming on. Good to see you. I have to put on my glasses to see some of your names that are joining. Hello, Janelle. Hello, Richard. Hello, Amy. Hello, Brad. Thank you for your kind words about our ministry. Hello, Sheila. Glad that you're there. I don't know what the weather is like wherever you are at tonight, but it is really stormy and wet and rainy here. We've got spring storms in the area, so I hope it doesn't disrupt anything. All right, well, let's get started. You're welcome to submit your questions. I think I'll be able to see them, but I want to just open up and thank you for sharing with me some of the questions that are on your heart tonight. I had a conversation with a person who manages lots of money on Wall Street, and I went back and forth with him right before I went live tonight, and I said, have you ever seen anything like this? And he said, well, this is certainly not my first rodeo. I've been doing this for more than 30 years, but he said, it's the first time I've ever ridden this horse. So I thought that was a good analogy, and I think that's where we all are. We've been through challenges before, but none like this. The interesting thing about this one is that it's global. People that may be tuning in tonight, I will be talking about this from an American perspective because that's where I live. But it's happening all over the world, and very few things in our life have we seen such a widespread, instantaneous impact like this. So just to start with the first question that I got, the first question is, some of you sent in advance, says, some say pile up cash and stay away from the market. A few say buy stocks or mutual funds while they're so low right now, and others are in fear. I would love to hear your thoughts on this. My wife and I are in our late 40s, and we're behind on retirement, so we would love to catch up, but we want to do it right. Perhaps buying a little each month on these lows over the next 6 months. What do you think? Thank you for your ministry. Well, I'm going to give you the answer that I've been giving for years and years and years before this crisis hit. And I think the principles of God's economy apply whether we're in crisis or not. They're always the same. The Bible teaches us to give first. It says it's better to give than to receive. So that's our first priority with money. So we give first. And then the second priority with money is to save. And I think it still applies. We need to give first, save second, and then we spend money. So give first, save second, spend. And then in your case, relative to your question, you're asking if you should invest. Only if you've done the first three things properly. If you've been a consistent giver, and that's your highest priority, and you've learned to save, and you have at least a month of savings right now, possibly you should have at least 3 months, I think, in this circumstance, then you can start investing. And yes, this is a good time to buy. It's a good time to be in the market. Everything in the market is on sale right now, and it's going to go back up in time. So if you're able to, and you have your emergency fund set aside, then you can start investing. I do think that it's important that you know what you're investing in. Don't just pick a stock like you'd throw a dart at a board. The principles of investing are you should first understand what the business is that you're investing in. You should do your homework to be sure they're strong. Many companies are going to have to endure lots of storms. But just think about it. The airline industry is down right now because people aren't flying. Tourism is down. But there will be a day when they're flying again. There will be a day when people are going on cruises again. So if you understand those industries, you can make a good investment. Here's another question. What are the most important adjustments I can make to my monthly budget or my spending habits right now? Well, when you think about budgeting, we have two categories that you have to look at immediately. And this is, for many people, a crisis situation. So you want to look at your variable expenses and your fixed expenses. Some people call those money that's committed and money that's not committed. So if you have variable expenses right now, those are things that they're not your monthly bills. Things like eating out, your grocery bills, your entertainment cost, your clothing. Those are things that you don't owe every month. It is time to reduce your variable spending. In fact, if we're all sitting at home, there's not a lot of ways to do it. But if you're tempted to do it online, then don't be doing that. Pull back really hard on all of your optional expenses right now. You're going to need it. You're going to need to be ready for a period of uncertainty. We don't know how long that uncertainty is going to last. I believe the Bible tells us that sort of the worst case scenario, that at least in Scripture, is a 15-month recession. And that was the Great Recession, or really a depression that happened in Egypt. And that's when Joseph was told Pharaoh that he needed to save 20% in the good years to be ready for 7 bad years. And that 20% for 7 years would get him through. Now, if you're listening and you're one that hasn't saved and you're not ready, which if you're an American, that's probably 40% of us that are not ready for a major drawback like this, then you need to save more. You need to pull back on your variable expenses as much as you possibly can. In some cases, I've known people who've stopped spending 50% of their monthly budget. They just got drastic on what they were eating. They got drastic on even things like haircuts. They started to learn to give haircuts to one another just to help from the budget to pull back in. So the first thing to do is to be sure you have enough money set aside to weather the crisis, to weather the storm. Should I save money and eat all meals in, or should I support local businesses by trying to order delivery or takeout? Well, first of all, don't disobey the laws of wherever you are. There are some states right now that are prohibiting people to go out to eat, and there are others that it's still available. But this is a really hard question. I guess my response would be it's a combination. I think we need to support local businesses as much as possible, and you also need to be saving. Eating in is the least expensive way to feed yourself right now. But don't forget, if you're buying groceries, that's supporting local business. Maybe you can buy from a local farmer. I have a son that's a farmer, and if you've got farmers in your area, sign up for what's called the CSA and get vegetables and things delivered to you and support those small business owners. So if you do eat out, some people are suggesting order takeout, even from restaurants where you might normally sit down. But they need our help. They're really, really suffering, and they're concerned that they may not be a part of the economy that's supported through this time. I have been in contact with a group in Texas, and their church is doing something very unique. Every day, the church is announcing a particular restaurant in their area, and they're asking the church members to order from that restaurant at least one meal that day if they're able, to order a takeout and eat it at home. They're also ordering food from that restaurant as a church and delivering it to shut-ins and people who are hard hit right now. So at least for one day, that restaurant is exposed to the wider church membership, to the body of Christ. And they're doing a wonderful thing to promote goodwill So the church is being the church for such a time as this. So my answer to you would be it's a combination. Do both. Eat in some as much as you need to, as much as you're lawfully able. Patronize some of the local restaurants. Next question. What should people do who find themselves struggling to pay rent or mortgage due to sudden loss of business, even unemployment? Well, first of all is don't make a fear-based decision. Right now, there's just so much uncertainty. I wouldn't make a crazy decision, like put the house on the market or do anything like that. Just be patient. This is a time that patience will be tested, but it's also a time patience will be rewarded. We have seen economic downturns many times. Recessions aren't new. In fact, Larry Burkett, our founder, did a study that I referenced before I got on Facebook tonight that recessions typically come every 8 to 10 years. They typically last anywhere from 6 to 15 months, usually not longer than that. And so this is certainly a time of correction. I think the government will announce soon that we are in a recession and that the economy will be contracting. So there's a couple of options regarding your mortgage or your rent. I think it's first priority. And certainly lenders are going to have to understand right now. I read recently, I think yesterday, that the government is considering asking lenders to have a grace period for people who have a mortgage or even their rent, to just wait to collect rent for a season. Now, of course, everybody can't do that. But that's the reason I'm saying don't panic and make a fear-based decision. You don't know if you need to sell or you need to downsize. But you're going to have a place to live. So be sure and take care of that first. Another option will be the government has announced zero interest rates. Zero interest rates mean that lenders can get money from central banks at zero interest. So they're going to be able to lower their interest rates. That means borrowing for cars or homes or even your small business, the rates are going to go down. And we're expecting to see a pretty sharp decrease in mortgage rates, which means if you need to lower your monthly payment, consider a refinancing option. Hopefully, if the rates are lower than 1% of what you're currently paying, you'll be able to save quite a bit of money each month. If you can lower your monthly mortgage payment by $250 or $500 by refinancing, and that's $6,000 a year that you'll be able to save or set aside. And over a long period of time, that's a pretty significant change for you. It's a big improvement. So protect your mortgage, even if you're unemployed. And if you've lost your job, be looking for ways that you can get reemployed so that you can continue to make your rent payments. Okay. How long should we prepare to sustain life in this new norm? Well, that is a really difficult question because nobody knows. I want to give you just a couple of scenarios. Just make it simple, A, B, or C. A is a quick recovery. Economists call that a V-shaped recovery, sharp downward and sharp back up on the other side. The people that I'm talking to think that a quick recovery could be in the next 45 days. All we're waiting for is good news about the slow growth or containment of this COVID-19, of the coronavirus. If we can get some good news on that on any front, it's going to change how people react. And we're going to hopefully get back to business as usual, at least on some levels. So that's the option A, 45 days. I don't have a lot of people that believe that, but some do. Some are very optimistic. The middle ground, option B, is 6 to 9 months. That's what would be considered a U-shaped recovery, where it goes down steeply. We stay level at that deep downturn, right, for some months, and then it starts back up on the other side. A U-shaped recovery. Most of my friends that I'm speaking to say they think that will last 6 to 9 months. Now, the third option, option C, is the sky falling and we're going off the cliff. We're going into the abyss. And there's a lot of people that feel that way right now. I read a terrible headline today that said, hell has come. We're going to hell in a handbasket. We're not going to recover. And those kind of things get a lot of people's attention. And we emotionally react to that. And that's what's happening in the markets. People are saying they're afraid. And so they're liquidating their positions. And that means that they're getting out right now. And that's why the markets are going down. But as soon as confidence returns, as soon as good news comes, you're going to see people going back in. I think personally, the 6 to 9 month option is more likely. I think there's a lot of reasons to be optimistic that it's going to recover sometime in the late fall. And that's what a lot of the people that I'm talking to believe. So that's not too far away. And we can endure that. We can get through that. So that's my best prediction right now. I don't know. The Bible makes it clear that no man knows the future. And certainly I do not. But we can be wise and we can look at the signs and try to gauge what we think might happen. Let's see. Is the economy going to get worse before it gets better? Yes, I can answer that pretty easily. We're looking at right now, I think, 30 to 35% decline in the market. In 2008 and 2009, the market went down 50%. Will it get better? Yes. I've read a lot of books by Warren Buffett, considered one of the greatest investors to ever live. And his stock, Berkshire Hathaway, has lost 50% of its value 3 different times in history. 50%. And during those 3 times, he never sold, and it got better. It went back up. And today it's one of the most valuable stocks in the world. But if you look at the history of it, it has ridden a roller coaster. And that's what many of you are riding in your 401ks right now. You also ask in your question, what to expect and steps to take accordingly. Well, Goldman Sachs produced an article today that they said first quarter, that's January through March, first quarter GDP will be down 6%. That will already have that significant of an impact in this quarter's GDP. They predict for the second quarter a historic decline of up to 24% of our GDP. That truly is going to feel horrible. And if you react emotionally to it and panic, you'll contribute to the problem. You'll withdraw like everybody else. But if you read the rest of the article, Goldman Sachs said they predict very significant growth in the third and fourth quarters, and the recovery will be underway in 2020. So don't let the headline frighten you. It is going to feel very, very bumpy, down before it goes back up. The main thing is not to get caught up in the paranoia. I think that this is the time for Christians especially to recognize that we do not need to be the ones fearing and spreading fear. Here's another question. As a small business owner, what do I need to take care of in this time? Well, first of all, I think it's important to take care of your employees first. Employees are the greatest asset of any business. In a sense, Crown is an employer, and I have to answer this question as well. We employ people, and they're looking to keep their jobs, and I consider them our greatest asset. And so I would encourage you to consider what you can do to keep them employed as best you're able to. The second thing you need to consider as a small business owner is your customers. I don't know about you, but I didn't know I was on so many mailing lists until I started hearing from all these businesses that have my name, and they're giving me an update on their business. They're being proactive. I'm getting emails from places I don't even know how they had my name, and they're giving me their update on the coronavirus and how they're going to try to continue business. And it's actually been encouraging. And if you're a small business owner, you need to be doing the same thing. Tell your customers how you plan to respond when you plan to be open. I got a text today that I was surprised. One of the businesses that we support had to close, and they gave us an idea of when they would reopen. That's good business. And then I think the third thing as a small business owner, you need to be looking after right now is your cash. One of my friends is in the construction business, and he's had clients cancel their contracts after the construction of the project started. And so now their forecasts are very uncertain. This is a time when you need to conserve your cash as a business owner. So look what you can do to minimize overhead, minimize unnecessary spending, just like you would in your personal budget, and manage those three things well. Protect your employees, protect your customers, and protect your cash. My employer sent me home 2 months without pay. Which expenses do I have to cut first, and which do I have to maintain? Well, first of all, I'm very sorry that that happened to you. I hope that you've prepared somewhat and that you've got savings to rely upon. Don't forget, this is a time where many people are going to have to humble themselves and maybe go to their church and say, this circumstance happened to me and I was unprepared. Is there any way you can help me? I will be talking to church leaders as best I'm able and recommending that they are try to put themselves in a position to help people through this crisis. You know, if we've been through a hurricane or a tornado or an earthquake or something disaster like that, we would know how to respond. But when there's an economic crisis, a lot of times we feel like we don't really know how. But I think you may need to look to the church or family members to help you get through this. Now, the first thing you need to protect is a place to live. Unless you can get out of your rent and move in with a friend or a family member or go back home right now, protect the rent. That's the first thing that you do need to pay or to protect in your budget. If working requires you to have transportation, then protect the transportation costs that you have. You're also going to need to have money for food. Those are the three basic necessities. Other than that, I think it's wise to consider where you can cut back in your spending. We have a crisis budget at crown.org. You can go online and find that form and download it for free. And we help walk people through what steps do you need to take to adjust your budget now. How do I change the way that I make financial decisions in a crisis? It's a great question. I want to tell you a quick story. First of all, pray more. The Bible says we should pray without ceasing. And right now, I wouldn't recommend making any financial decisions without prayer. Just a few weeks ago, I had a dream, and I'll take just a minute on this. I dreamed I lost my wallet. You know, that just makes you feel sick. And I think I was just stressed or something. In my dream, I'm walking all over the house and I cannot find my wallet, And I finally stop and I pray and say, Lord, would you tell me where the wallet is? And in the dream, he said, you know, walk 3 steps forward and there it will be. And it was under my sofa. And I was just so ecstatic, not just to get my wallet back, but that the Lord responded to my request. He showed me where the wallet was, and I woke up happy. I woke up feeling just close to the Lord. Well, fast forward 2 weeks, and I lost my keys for real. This is not a dream. You know, my remote control, all my keys to the office, keys to the house, my little electric fob to get in and out of the office. And I was mowing our property, and they fell out of my pants, my pocket while I was mowing. I couldn't find them. My wife wasn't very happy with me, and I wasn't very happy with myself. And I looked and looked, walked all over the yard, and we have a large yard, and just couldn't find them, and I gave up. Well, they stayed out there a week, and Ann wanted me to try again. So I started walking the property, but this time I remembered my dream. And I started praying, Lord, would you show me where those keys are? I felt like I was looking for a needle in a haystack. And I walked for 20 minutes. I found my keys, and I just stopped and I looked up and I said, thank you, Lord. You know, sometimes we think we can do it without praying, but right now make financial decisions through prayer. I would also recommend that you reshape your priorities during this time. Consider what really is a need and what's a want, what's important and what's just vanity. There's some things that we can do without now, and we can learn to be sacrificial. I don't think we're going into the Great Depression like we've had before. I think there's going to be a much quicker recovery than those terrible days. But during that time, people learned to do things differently. They reprioritized what was important. And I think we're going to need to do that as well. And then the third P in that answer is to just be patient. We're in a hurry. I think we get into debt because we're in a hurry. And we want to do something right now. I read the other day that the reason people think so many people rushed out and bought toilet paper is because they wanted to do something. They wanted to take some action that they felt like, okay, I'm prepared. At least at this minimal level, I'm going to have toilet paper. But think about the new normal for us. It's going to require prayer about your financial decisions. It's going to require new priorities, and it's going to require more patience. Don't get in a big hurry. Just slow down. Let's see. Is the new government payout estimated to be $3,400 per family? And that's not verified, per family of 4. But that's being discussed. That's a policy that the government's looking at. Is the new payout of $3,400, assuming we get that, a good way to help people and jumpstart the economy, or is it just a handout? Would it have been better if the government looked at unemployment benefits rather than blanket payments, who will go to lots of people who don't lose out on pay, who aren't losing their job? Well, you asked 2 questions. One is a policy question. And, I would have preferred that the policy went directly to support the businesses that are suffering right now. Because long term, if the businesses can survive, then the jobs can survive. We had record unemployment, and jobs are what long term help people the most. $3,400, if we're not careful, will come and go. But putting that into an employer's hands to help keep the business alive could potentially save a job long term. But the government's probably going to do a lot of things right now that are going to try to help everybody. I think that it's one of those unprecedented responses. And so what to do with the money? I just wrote about that in one of my articles today on the Christian Post. First of all, if you get $3,400 and you don't need it, and you're in a strong position and you're truly able, I would recommend you pray about and find somebody else that needs it more than you. It may be a family member. It may be your church. It may be a neighbor. But consider being radically generous. Generous to the point that it may feel very uncomfortable right now. But that's the time that we're in. If you don't have a savings account and the government sends you $3,400, then I recommend you start an emergency savings account. Going into this crisis, 40% of Americans didn't have $1,000 in cash. And they weren't prepared. So if you're in that category, then start an emergency savings account. Now, the combination of that would be if you have saved money and you are ready, then go to take the opportunity to invest. If you look at your priorities, giving is always first, saving is second. If you've done those things, then this is a great time to invest. I think that you'd be very, very happy with the results. And probably 12 to 24 months from now, that money could potentially be doubled. It could do very, very well for you. I don't know if more questions are coming in. Maybe somebody that's here in the room can help me with that, or text them to me. I've got some other things. Okay, thank you. Is this a good time to refinance? I think it is. Let me give you a couple of refinance rules because it can be tricky. When you refinance, you need to be sure that your overall rate is dropping at least 1%, and you will be in the home that you're refinancing for enough time to get back the cost of that refinancing. So if you have to pay a point in order to refinance to get a lower rate, then you've got to save that money for enough time to get that point back. Are you with me? So let me just do simple math. If your refinancing cost you $2,000 and you're only saving $100 a month, that means you're going to need 20 months in the house to have any benefit from it. So how long will you be in the house? Do you expect to have to move? Is your job going to relocate? Be sure you understand those things and that you shop for a good rate. I personally use bankrate.com as a free service to compare mortgages and finance rates. When I look at those things, there's a refinance calculator on Crown's website at crown.org, and I think that would help you answer that question. Oh, good, another one, thank you. What is the best tool to help someone budget who just lost their job? Well, I would go to crown.org and download any of the budget forms for free and start using that one immediately. Just use pen and paper. And there's also some great budgeting apps out there, and we're getting prepared to come out with another one. I should also mention our Eli app. We're partnered with a group that developed a savings app called Eli, E-L-I. You can find that at crown.org, and it sets up rules to help you automatically save money. Eli is an excellent tool to use during this crisis. We also have lots of material at crown.org that helps you know what to do in a time of a crisis. I wrote a book in the 2008-2009 crisis called After the Aftershock, Surviving the Aftershock. I wrote something called the SALT Plan. We have crisis budget tools. We have how to build a budget you love online for free. I would immediately get access to those tools and start using them. I want to just mention one other thing that I wrote in this article today for how best to respond to a crisis. I want to give you just 4 tips, and I think some of this we should all spread, not just to ourselves, but in our own networks. We should tell other people about this. And if I need to post it online, if I haven't already done that, I'll do it for you. Number 1 is to double down on our generosity. This is no time to get frightened and selfish and to start just keeping everything to ourselves. This is how we distinguish ourselves. This is how we show that we're salt and light. When the early church was started, it was difficult. They were persecuted. They were losing their jobs. They were being cast out of society. They were not respected. And Agabus came in Antioch and said in Acts 11, well, I have more news for you. A great famine is going to spread throughout the world. Well, that's frightening words. That doesn't mean they're going to lose their 401k. It means they might starve. It means that they're going to experience global hunger. And so the apostles prayed about it. And it says right there in Acts 11, they decided to send relief to others. And I think that's where the history of the church separates itself. We became the people that when there's a crisis, we're the givers. We are more interested in others than ourselves. And this is one of those times. So double down on your giving. Be more generous, not less generous. Secondly, help your local church. There are a lot of churches that can't stream their services. There's a lot of churches that don't have online giving. They're still dependent on people coming in and putting it into play. And they're like restaurants right now. Many of them have a great deal of concern about their financial well-being. I want you to be sure you're taking care of your local church. One of the best outcomes right now would be that the local church is very, very healthy so that they can do the kind of help that they need to do for people that will be looking to them in their crisis. What a wonderful time to step up and say, I want to be there for the local church and empower them to reach people that are going to need extra help. The third thing is to support your local businesses. Do your very best to help the restaurants, to help whatever business that you can, to patronize them, to encourage them, to stop by and say hello or ask about them, ask what you can do. I know that so many of them are considering how they're going to get through this right now. Are they going to have their customers? Are people going to start booking concerts again? Are they going to start traveling again? All of these things are creating fear. And so find ways to do what you can to support them financially and as well as to just encourage them as people who have tremendous stress right now. And then finally, watch for government assistance. I was pretty excited that the government said we have 90 extra days to pay our tax liabilities. So we file by April 15th in America. We have April, May, June till July 15th to pay any tax liabilities. So those kind of things will be happening. There will be other things that surprise us in the coming days. I want to post that information here so that we can keep you informed. We have set up a command center, and we're trying to keep up with this as best we can. We want to be there for you. Let me give you a number that you can call and speak to any of our staff if you're really, really in pain and just need some direction or somebody to pray with you. You can call our offices during working hours. That's 800-722-1976, and we will be there to respond. We believe that this is our Esther 4:14 moment. I think I've got that verse right. And who knows, but you've been called for such time as this. We believe God's called us to help the body of Christ all over the world to get through this, to advance the church, advance the Great Commission, advance God's glory. We're salt and light, and we'll be tested to see how well we stay true to our faith during this time. Let's walk this road together. I don't see any more questions coming up. Let me just ask over here. Do you have any more questions coming in? Let's see. Do you have any recommendations for churches who are inclined to expand the size of their building or infrastructure by borrowing money with the low interest rates right now? Well, whenever it comes to church borrowing, I have always had two responses, whether it's in a crisis or not. Number one, be sure that the church leadership has prayed about that and they're ready to take on that obligation. I really hate to see it when churches get overextended. They put themselves in a position where they're under enormous pressure. I muchly prefer to see the church in position of financial strength, where they can be the one helping others and not the ones in need. Low interest rates will be attractive for churches if they need to refinance or expand. And if they have the ability to do that, obviously you want to do it at the lowest interest rate possible and get the best deal possible. I believe it's better for churches to avoid debt. I know many don't take that advice, but boy, for those churches who are not in debt right now, I'm sure they are so very grateful. By the way, I actually saw this earlier come in on Facebook. It was really an interesting response. A man named Vernon wrote to me and he said, with this virus outbreak, people are concerned about their finances. Yes, Vernon, you are right about that. He says, I work at a major state university in Texas where we've had students with the illness this week. And so everybody is having to vacate the dorm. And he said, I mean, everybody is moving out. He said, we already were limited to our days of work, but praise God, I work in facilities and HVAC department, and they need to keep us on campus just to keep the buildings going. I'm not sure what I'd do if they started telling us that we can only help the higher skilled residential and commercial building techs. Please pray for me, because working at a college, they don't pay their employees top dollar already. And let's pray for one another's health, our spiritual health, our mental health, our physical and financial well-being. Pray for our jobs to be able to keep them, and that the economy will start to recover soon. Pray that we'll be able to keep our homes and pay our utility bills and keep healthy food and drink on the table. Pray that we can keep our vehicles and go to places like the store or the doctor. Pray we can afford the fuel and the insurance and the maintenance and upkeep on our vehicles. Well, thank you, Vernon. I do want us to be praying for those things. And I think we need to help each other. This is an unprecedented event, and God is going to be glorified. We get to trust him, put our faith into action, and be strong and courageous. Well, I hope this has helped tonight. I'm trying to see how much time we've been at it, about 40 minutes, it looks like. If there's no other questions coming in, I'm going to sign off. But we'll be doing regular updates. If this has been helpful to you, do you have one more? Okay. If this has been helpful to you, I want you to share with your friends that we'll be doing this probably on a regular basis. We have a resource page for the crisis budget that I've mentioned. If you want to set that up, it's crown.org/coronavirus, crown.org/coronavirus. Thank you so much. Thank you for your interest in helping other people during this time. God bless you. I hope to see you next time.